Hello YouTube. I haven't made a video in a while. Seems like every time I make a video nobody watches it, so kind of stopped making videos. I mean, maybe if I was a floating head in a toilet I'd be a little more popular on YouTube. However, I'm just a real person doing real stuff. And today the snow is melting. It's getting warmer, so I feel like it's time to do some spring cleaning. We're gonna rebuild the garage today. Gonna start some engines that haven't been run in quite a long time, and just kind of rebuild Tanco. In here is my shop. This is Tanco, and it hasn't really been utilized. I don't really get customers. I build diesel motorcycles like that, and I got this tank back here that I've been working on, but it's like nobody watches my videos, nobody buys anything. So like I said, unless I'm a floating head in a toilet, I guess I'm not gonna be popular on YouTube, but here I am trying anyhow. I built this little go-kart for my daughter. It's got a 5-speed stick shift from a lawnmower, and it's only like 3 horsepower, but she's a little kid, so, and still needs a floor pan, but that's one thing I'm working on. My welder is like completely out of gas. I've got plenty of MIG wire, but these bottles are about $200 to fill, and I don't have any customers, so I can't really afford to spend money on shop supplies. But I do have this neat little mini bike for sale with a diesel engine, and I got his big brother, the full-size diesel bike over here. I got some regular bikes too, but man, they're just, I love these. It's sentimental. It's hard to part with sentimental stuff. All of this stuff. Every single object in this garage is precious and special to me, but you put it on eBay and some knucklehead will give you $10 for that brand new motorcycle tire. Or hell, I've had this mini bike on there for $750 and nobody buys it. I mean, it's just ludicrous. I guess kids don't leave the house anymore. I mean, back in the 90s, if my parents bought me that, I would be having the time of my life. However, kids nowadays just want to watch Skibidi Toilet. And I wish the world was cool and people wanted to drive diesel bikes, or were ambitious enough to get one of these little Harbor Freight welders. I mean, when I was a kid, I got a little cheap welder like this and started welding pipes together, made a go-kart. I built these kind of things by myself when I was like 12. Now I'm building this. I've had this guy under construction for a while, about 2 years since I started it. These engines haven't ran since last winter, so I know they'll start. They're diesels. They don't have carburetors that can get gunked up or fuel that can go stale, really. The hydraulics, all the oil, everything's cold, but this thing ought to fire right up. I need to move this stuff. This Jeep, this hasn't ran since the summer. That needs to start. That's not gonna be fun. It's not gonna wanna light up. Marley, where are you running off to? No TVs today.
I know.
We're doing real stuff. Yeah. I'm gonna get this tank started. I'm gonna get this Jeep started. Get this garage cleared out. And just clean up. I mean, look at all this detritus. Like this has to be dealt with. And this whole pile of stuff, this is all my eBay stuff. If anyone ever buys it, it's going out. But for now, it's just kind of staged against this shelf. The main objective is to move this TV over to that wall and move all of that stuff to a new home, because this whole back area of the shop is slated to be the karate dojo. Me and my daughter, we take Taekwondo, and I have some home gym stuff up there that could be consolidated into our gym slash Taekwondo practice area. We've got foam mats to put down, but all this has to find a new home. This whole back corner has not changed in a year. Neither of these vehicles have moved really since summer. And all this This is gonna have to stay where it is. I don't know. I mean, it looks like a cluttered horde mess, but it's actually extremely tidy and organized to me. I know where everything is. It's hard to find new homes for objects. Yeah, YouTube. What would you do about all of this? I mean, does that make you feel a little overwhelmed? Imagine having to move. Imagine packing all of this up in a U-Haul truck and relocating to another garage, like not doing it. If anyone wants to buy my home, they're getting everything that comes with it. And we got a fire going in the wood stove, and it won't make a difference until I close the door, but I guess the next order of business is getting these old guys running and warmed up. And it's gonna make a lot of smoke because they haven't ran in forever. So let's see if the old Jeep wants to light. We'll try her first. When starting a vehicle that you haven't ran in a long time, it's generally a good idea to pop the hood and double check everything. For all you know, there could be a family of cats living under here. The battery could be dead, the oil could be low, it could be leaking. It's just a good idea to give it a look-see before turning the key. Okay, let's see what we got going on in here. This engine hasn't ran in a while, so we are going to want to check a few things. Does it have oil? Eesh. Ugly. And at the very bottom of the fill. I don't know who I need to explain this to, but dipsticks have a range between which is the safe zone. If your oil is not in that safe zone, either too low or too high, you will have major engine problems. So, your oil should not be this dark either. This needs an oil change. This seems extremely basic and redundant, but I guess in 2026 you have to explain what a dipstick is and what engine oil is, because a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people won't know what this is. I mean, leave in the comments if you know what this is. Spoiler, it's a distributor. It puts the sparks to the spark plugs. It's very simple how it works. I mean, anyone who wants to learn engines, start with something old like this. You have a distributor, inside of which is an arm, almost like on a clock, and it's going around, and every time it hits one of these posts, it connects to it and sends the electricity through it. And it's timed with the rotation of the engine. So as it's rotating, the pistons are going up and down. Each one of these is connected to a spark plug. So when this piston's all the way at the top and the spark plug is at its time where it needs to fire, it will be lined up in here. Basically, you set it, you turn the engine so that it's at top dead center, number one cylinder, and then you line up the armature inside of here to a post, and that becomes number one. And as it rotates, it'll just bang, 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 bang. And it's timed so perfectly that no matter how fast this engine's spinning, this thing's spinning the same speed. And every time this cylinder needs to fire, this armature hits that post and sends the spark. So no computer necessary, just mechanical alignment. And for the fuel, there's no fuel injection, no computer necessary. You have pressurized fuel coming from the fuel pump and the tank into this carburetor. Air's going through it. The air and the gas mix, and it's almost like a spray mist of fuel going down these channels through the intake manifold into the cylinder. And these cylinders, same concept as the spark timing. There's valves inside of here, and there's a previous video where I explain a lot of this stuff with my truck. But for those who don't know engines, very simply, the camshaft makes the valves open and close. There's one for the intake, one for the exhaust. This is the exhaust, that's the intake for this number one cylinder. And as the cylinder's going up and down, it needs to suck in air, compress it, explode it, and then blow the exhaust out. And that's the four-stroke intake, compression, power, exhaust. And as it's doing that, the valves are opening to let air in on the intake, closing for compression, closing, staying closed when the spark plug hits and it fires, and then exhaust opens to let the exhaust. So that intake and exhaust are opening just at the right time because the camshaft's rotating, chain driven with the engine, timed just so perfectly so that when the piston needs to suck in air, the intake valve opens, and same with the exhaust. So you've got your valve timing through the camshaft, and you have your spark timing through the distributor. All we need is electricity from the battery to get it cranked up, and it'll run. As long as the fuel is getting in there. This thing hasn't ran in a long time, so it's gonna be hesitant. We will see. Always make sure it's in neutral before starting. You can hear the fuel pump. Let that run for a second. Gotta pump the pedal a few times. All right, here we go. Oh, it sputtered. Yeah, this thing hasn't ran in a long time. She doesn't want to go. We'll see.
Dude, it's like pouring gas out the bitch. It's puking gas.
All right. So something is horribly wrong because when I tried to start the Jeep, it started pouring gasoline. And I found where it's coming from. None of the fuel lines are leaking. It's actually this tube here. This goes to the top of the carburetor. It's supposed to be a vent to let out vapors and fresh air, but it is just overflowing and puking gas out onto the floor. A lot of it. So something inside that carburetor is not right. And when I turn the key, the fuel pump turns on. It's electric. The fuel pump's sending like 10 psi of fuel up there. And the carburetor's supposed to have a needle inside it that self-regulates. It's almost like the floating valve inside a toilet tank. But as that carburetor fills up with gasoline, the float should rise and close off the inlet with a needle. And I guess that needle's not seating because I tried to start it and within 10 seconds it was overfilling and pouring gas on the floor. I really don't want to have to take apart this carburetor, but I might have to. I don't know, not good. You're not supposed to leave things sitting around for months and months and months, especially not old carbureted stuff. Diesels seem to be pretty immune to it. Still not a good idea to let things sit a long time. But we're gonna try and bring this Jeep back to life today. Spray with ether maybe?
Yeah, that'll probably for sure work.
I really hate to use this shit, but sometimes when engines are stubborn, you can give them a little spray. This stuff is extremely flammable. It's called starting fluid, ether. Spray it into the air intake, and it should fire right up. Usually what happens is it'll rev way up and then burn this stuff off and then stall because it's not getting enough fuel. But sometimes just a little spritz of this is enough to make the difference. You just want to take off the air filter, spray some of that in there, and then it dries up in like 2 seconds, so you gotta go quick. Sputter. Really need 2 people. I need you to spray that while I'm cranking it.
Okay.
Can you possibly give that a spritz and film doing it?
Just right into the...
It kind of takes 2 people. Like spray it.
When it opens?
Spray it.
Okay.
It's running, but it's running like crap. It's running on like 4 cylinders. I can hear it sputtering. I'm just holding the pedal so it doesn't stall. Warm it up and then it'll hopefully come online. It's smoothed out a little bit. I think the other cylinders are lighting now. Barely. It's running. It's running on all 6 cylinders. But it's cold and unhappy, and the oil's probably like molasses. Yeah, this engine hasn't ran in a good while. I'm glad it started. And I'm glad the carburetor didn't need to be rebuilt. I just had to let it sit there for a minute. If I let off the gas pedal now, it's just gonna burn out. Yeah. Yeah, it's not warm enough to idle on its own. I gotta hold the gas pedal down. Oh man. It smells... Yeah, it smells like old stale engine burning off the rust. Like... I can't stress this enough. You really should not let engines sit for months and months and months. Like, I used to have a thing called Cold Start Sunday where at least once a week I would start every engine that I had. Yeah, this thing hasn't ran in a while, and I can smell it. It's slowly coming back to life though. I mean, it is turning, it is running. I need to get it up to temperature. Once it can idle on its own without me holding the gas pedal, we should be good. It sounds a lot better. It's smoothing out. It's not quite gonna idle yet. Smoothing out. I'd say it's running really healthy. I'm gonna close the hood and say we're good. Yeah, she's good and running. Warmed up. Should move that truck out of the way and go drive it a little bit. It's hard to drive and hold a camera. It's muddy out here, man. This thing's gonna get filthy if I drive it up the driveway. I'm going right back into the garage, I think. These engines haven't ran in a good long while. They're diesels, so there's no carburetor. They should start real easily. However, I don't feel like pulling these strings, so I'm gonna actually wire it in and run it with a key and a battery. First, I need to make some battery cables, meaning I need to connect that to the positive of a battery. So the battery might sit over there. I'll need like 2 feet of red cable going to there, and then I'll need some black cable going from the frame or one of the engine bolts to the negative. So we got to make some battery cables. Let me show you how to do that. To make custom length battery cables, you'll need a kit kind of like this. You'll need one of these crimping tools, Harbor Freight, 40 bucks, something like that. It basically is just a crusher, but you take these ends and you put them on the cable and you crush it on there like so. Cut that to length. With a razor blade, strip off the rubber real carefully. That. And then you take one of these ends, make sure that's good. That'll fit. So what you do is you take one of these ends, put it in your crimping tool, and it's a little awkward, but you pump it and it'll close up. And you get it just until it starts to grip. There, that'll hold the end for you. Put the cable in there as deep as you can. Crush it. Pump it until it bottoms out like that. Release the pressure, and you got an end crimped on there. Then you finish it off with a piece of heat shrink. Clean this off. Put a piece of heat shrink tubing over it and melt it. Voila. That is a battery cable. Now we have finished battery cable. So this red cable is the positive. It goes from the starter to the battery. Now we've got 2 engines with 2 internal alternators. It's a coil inside the flywheel that makes power. Basically, I don't know what's going to happen if you have 2 engines trying to charge one battery. Are they going to fight each other? Is it going to fry the alternator? How this works is there's a coil inside the flywheel with magnets. As it rotates, those magnets go flying past these little copper coils. In doing so, it generates a current. Every time magnetism goes through metal, it induces a current in that metal. So the copper is taking that current and sending it through to the battery. It actually goes through this charging rectifier first. So these yellow wires come directly from that charging coil, and it's sending pulses of power. One, like it's alternating current between these 2 wires. Every time the magnet flies past one of those coils, it sends a pulse of power down these wires back and forth. And that goes into this little block here where there's a solid state rectifier, and that just turns it into regular DC power. Think of it like 2 check valves. You've got alternating flow of current. Those check valves just sort it out left, right. So positive, negative. So it turns that alternating into DC current. And the DC current should come and charge the battery. Now my question is, if you have 2 of those systems trying to charge the same battery, is it going to cause problems? I guess there's only one way to find out. I do have extra batteries, but I kind of want to see what happens if you have these both wired to one battery. So that's what we're going to do. Pretty much with every engine, the main positive cable is going to come from your battery to a stud like this on the starter. And then a lot of other things are gonna draw power off of that. But usually every vehicle is wired up like this, where you have a main positive cable going to a stud on the starter, and there's a solenoid here. Now how that works is, a solenoid is basically like a big switch, and it takes power to open and close that switch. This harness came with the engine. It has a key switch. Basically how they have it is, it takes power from this stud, it goes up through the switch and back, and when it comes back, it comes through this red wire. So when you turn the key, power comes down this red wire to this little spade here, and when you send power to that little spade there, this solenoid clicks. Like there's a coil in there and there's a rod in the middle. When that coil gets energized, it becomes magnetic and it forces that rod out. And that rod connects a switch, which allows more power to come through this stud. If you didn't have a solenoid, you would need a big fat cable like this going all the way up to your key switch and back, and then the key switch would be able to handle all that power, because this takes a lot of power to crank over a starter. So what they do is, they have the power coming from the battery right to the starter, so all that amperage is available to the starter. You just need this solenoid to switch, and that only takes a tiny little bit of power. So your key switch can be small, the wires in your dashboard can be small. So what we're gonna do, connect this to here, connect this to here, and then this wire here, this goes down to our charging system. You have pulses of power coming from the alternator, and then they get rectified by this block here into DC power, and that will charge the battery. Well, this nice little harness comes with the engines, but you could always wire up your own. Most engines are like this, especially old-fashioned stuff. If there's no computer, you don't need any other power. You just need power to crank it up and start the thing. These are diesel engines, so they really don't require any power at all. I have been starting them with the pull string, like the emergency backup, but since it's cold and they haven't ran in a while, they're gonna be a lot easier to start just by turning a key. So yeah, we just tighten this stud down like that. You don't want them too tight, they will break. Yeah, that's all hooked up. So now, you turn the key, it'll send power to that, closing that, starting it. Now we need a negative though. We need a negative terminal. We just need to connect the negative to the frame somewhere. That bolt might be a winner right there actually. I made two cables because I thought I was going to use two batteries, but I really want to see what happens if you have them running both to the same battery. Will it fuck up the alternators? I don't know. This I'm going to need another wrench for maybe. Ratchet. That's good and tight. Just hook it up to the negative on the battery. Well, this is more or less a temporary setup. I haven't even finished building the tank yet, but this is the very first time I've ever hooked up electrical power. I've been starting these engines with the pull string all this time. This thing hasn't ran since last winter pretty much, so after sitting for a whole year, it should start right up. Just need to find the key. I wired up the whole thing, I don't know where the key is. They should both start now. There's no diesel in it. about the other engine. They both crank. There's no fuel in it. All right, we got both engines hooked up, full of fuel. Let's start them. That on, that's on, everything's ready to go. Yeah, turn up the fuel a little bit. So I got the battery hooked up to both engines. I put it in this little box so it wouldn't rattle everywhere. And we're gonna start it up.